We're live on Facebook.
Oh, we are. Oh, great.
Yep. Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook, it says.
Excellent.
Yay.
Yay. We'll kind of wait for people to file into our virtual kitchen here.
Sounds good.
I even got a little tabletop hot plate so I can make stuff on the tabletop and then.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very clever of you. Yeah.
I was surprised how inexpensive it was. I thought it'd be a fortune, but it actually wasn't.
Yeah. My kitchen is not equipped for live streaming anything. So
trust me, it is so tight in here. And there's been episodes. Thinking of which, I gotta go grab the eggs. I forgot the eggs. Oh shoot. Okay.
Okay.
Every episode, there's always something that I forget, and then I have to run down the hall and get it. And
yes, always. But
okay.
Yes. I see on my phone is now telling me that we're streaming live on Facebook. So
okay. Is anyone saying hello to us?
Not that I see just yet. Let me see. Oh, Darren Barnes. Darren Barnes is here. Hi, Darren.
Benjamin is here. Yay. Benjamin just braved the Marilyn Monroe stuffing, and he did a fantastic job on that one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Marilyn was one of the ones who actually did cook.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, and Benjamin was just wonderful, and that was a really fun episode.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think that cranberries are going to be really good in these brownies.
I do too. And let's see. Well, it's 12:58.
12:58.
Yeah. So should we go ahead?
Sure. Let's go ahead.
All right. Well, welcome to. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Do I need a bowl? I think I may need to get a bowl.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and get a bowl and get ready.
Oh, okay. Yes. I see you have one, and I didn't get one, so I'm gonna get one. Okay, I am with bowl.
Okay, so welcome everybody to yet another Thanksgiving edition of Hollywood Kitchen. And today, as my special guest, my friend Lara Gabrielle in San Francisco. And she is a film historian, a writer, and author of the upcoming Marion Davies book, Captain of My Soul, which comes out in 2022. And believe me, there's gonna be plenty of Marion content coming up. We'll probably cook a Marion dish at some point very soon. And I'm so happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was really fun. I'm glad you asked me to do this.
Well, thank you.
I love these brownies.
Pardon?
I love these brownies.
I do too. And you know, about last year, actually, I get invited, well, when there's not a pandemic, a friend of mine has a big Thanksgiving orphan dinner for a lot of us who, have family far away. And last year before the orphan dinner, I was making brownies just for myself at home. And then I had some extra cranberries from Thanksgiving sitting around. And I threw them in the mix, and they were so good because the richness of the chocolate with the tart of the cranberry is a great combination. And I wound up liking them so much, I took them to my friend's orphan Thanksgiving dinner. They were a huge hit. Like, kids loved them, adults loved them. In fact, it was not like a single crumb in the pan when I left that party.
Oh,
so I think that's a really great way to kind of adjust the recipe for the holidays.
Yeah.
People can put nuts and cranberries if they want to do both, but I just kind of like putting cranberries in mine.
Yeah, and I'm glad you came up with this idea too, because I'm actually slightly allergic to walnuts. So this is a good alternative for me to try.
Excellent. And I know a lot of people do have nut allergies. So we'll first start off by talking a little about the great Kate before we start making the recipe.
The great Kate.
Tell me, when did you first discover Katharine Hepburn?
I was thinking about that, and I can't think of a time when I didn't know Kate. I think maybe the first movie that I saw with her was Bringing Up Baby.
Me too.
Yeah, my sister and I was probably about maybe 10 or so, 10 or 11. My sister and I were going through, you know, the AFI's 100 best movies. And when we saw Bringing Up Baby, we just loved it. I think that was maybe the first movie I saw with her, although I can't really remember. I think she's brilliant. I think she's unique. I think there's just nobody else like her. And did you ask my favorite movie?
Yes. What's your favorite Katharine Hepburn movie and why?
Yeah, well, I think that it's hard for me to choose. I love Holiday, and I think not a lot of people, you know, it's not like it's not one of the movies that people cite very often. And I think I adore it. I just think it's so wonderful. And also Adam's Rib. I think Adam's Rib is really, really fun. And I love the way that she interacts with Judy Holliday and how she sort of gives Judy Holliday the scene whenever they're in a scene together. Yeah, it's a great movie in so many ways.
Yeah, I agree with you. For me also, there's not a time when I didn't know who she was or wasn't aware. And I remember seeing Bringing Up Baby. That was my first Hepburn as well. And I got to see it on a big screen. And I love movies on the big screen so much. And it just blew me away. And I just remember thinking, I have to read more about her. I just have to. And she was so strong and independent and smart and really bucked trends at the time. And there was so much about her that just drew me in and made me fall in love with her, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's hard to pin down one favorite Hepburn because you could almost put out every year of her career or every phase rather, and I would literally have a different favorite for every like phase in her whole career. But I just love the Philadelphia Story because the combination of Jimmy Stewart and Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, it's just unbeatable.
It's perfection. I think the Philadelphia Story is maybe a perfect script, a perfect cast. It's just a gem of a movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies
Close
like
to perfection as I think you can get.
Pardon?
I said it's as close to perfection as I think you can get.
Like if you shipped me off to a desert island and were like, you can have 5 movies, that would be one of the movies I would ask for.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So we're going to get into making the recipe and talking a little bit about that. And then once we have that in the oven and ready to roll, then we'll do our deep dive into Kate. First off, a little bit about this recipe. It's all over the internet. So if you would like to make Katharine Hepburn brownies as well, you will not have a hard time locating this one. It's on the New York Times cooking blog if you are a New York Times subscriber. If not, don't worry, it's all over the place. The recipe I use, I take from a book called American Cookie. This is actually a really cool book because not only does it talk about the recipes, it gives you historical background on like the origin of the brownie. And for history nerds like us, this is like kind of really fun. And in American Cookie, it talks about how Katharine Hepburn was, it kind of gives a little bit of backstory on this, about she had a neighbor in New York and the neighbor had a daughter who was going to go to Bryn Mawr, but then drop out. And then the neighbor got wind of it and told Katharine Hepburn. And then Katharine Hepburn, on brand, went to the girl and kind of gave her a talking to, and she stayed in school.
Yeah, and Kate squeaked by in Bryn Mawr herself.
Pardon?
Kate just barely squeaked by in Bryn Mawr herself.
That's so awesome.
She got pretty close. Yeah.
And then it talks about how that she actually said the recipe wasn't quite right to someone who made her some brownies, and she gave them all these corrections on how to make them properly because she didn't like a lot of flour in the brownies. So, but there's a whole little backstory in this book it's really kind of fun. I do need to preheat the oven to 325, so I'm going to go really fast to do that.
Me too, actually.
Pardon?
Me too. The recipe that I found doesn't tell us to preheat the oven, so I kind of forgot to do that. 325, right? and I said this at the beginning of the video, but apologies for my kitchen that is really not set up to do these live streaming videos, but it's fun anyway.
I feel too, honestly, because my place is so tiny and literally I'm just like crammed in here. But in a perfect world, I would have a huge fancy Art Deco kitchen with tons of space for all this. But I think it's just fun to just kind of try anyway. I'm just having a good time doing these.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's great that you're doing this.
Yeah, and I figure, like I've said before, like even if the star did not make this recipe and it was like their grandmothers or their publicists, it's still kind of a fun way to talk about them and to kind of frame them a little bit, you know, through the food. So either way, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've preheated the oven to 325 degrees. I've got my baking pan all greased here on the table and ready to go. All right, let's see. Place chocolate and butter in saucepan over low heat. So the ingredients you need are, should we go over all the ingredients everybody needs? It's all
yeah, there are not very many ingredients.
Yeah, they're really not.
Yeah, well, go ahead, you've got the recipe in front of you.
Yeah, 2 ounces of unsweet chopped chocolate. I chopped it up very finely. Half a cup of unsalted butter. 1 cup of granulated sugar, which is got right here. 2 eggs slightly beaten. All right, I need to slightly beat the eggs here. In just a second. Got the eggs. All right, and then a half teaspoon of vanilla. I put everything in these little clear bowls and kind of organize them here.
So it's over low heat, right, Carrie, or medium? It's over low heat, right?
Low heat, yes. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then instead of 1 cup of chopped walnuts, we're going to do 1 cup of cranberries. And I like to buy the nice fresh ones at the store. Okay, we're going to put the chocolate and the butter in a saucepan over low heat. So conveniently, so I don't have to leave the frame and go to my oven, I got a little heating thing right here. What do you call it? Hot plate.
So the butter and the chocolate.
Yeah, butter and the chocolate.
Already starting to get extremely fudgy.
For me, the trick, especially at the holidays, is to not burn stuff. Because, you know, sometimes at the holidays, you're like cooking so many things at once or getting distracted. You're like trying to wrap Christmas presents and watch TV and cook. And then next thing you know, stuff can burn easily.
Yes.
So I'm going to wait for our low heat to kind of start generating here. There it is. Okay.
One thing I love about this recipe is how easy it is. It's just so straightforward. There's no, there's no weird take it out and do something to it and put it back. And yeah, it's
exactly.
I mean, brownies I think in general are pretty easy, but this one in particular, I think is just.
Well, one thing I like about it too is if you are doing a Thanksgiving meal for yourself or your family or whatever, the fact is that sometimes it's fun to have a different dessert. I know a lot of times it's apple pie, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, which that's great. But sometimes I like to do something different, and this is very different, but it's also easy to make and it's a huge crowd pleaser. So really you can't go wrong.
I'm going to show everybody what this looks like because it's just amazing. And you see, it's just fudgy. I just spilled some, but fudgy chocolate goodness.
Yes, I wish smell-o-vision was a thing because
smell-o-vision was a thing. Yes,
that would be so cool. If the world could smell the warm chocolate scent. Well, my butter's taking just a few minutes here to melt, so I'm going to kind of keep moving it around so it doesn't burn.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then I think the next thing is we have to remove it from heat and put the eggs in, right?
Let's see. Remove pan from heat and stir in sugar.
Oh, sugar.
Add
Okay.
eggs and vanilla and stir to combine well.
Okay. So I think
I'm kind of melting my butter here. I wish I had a camera that was lurking right above this pan so you could see how beautiful this looks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna remove mine from heat right now and put the sugar in because mine's pretty
Okay, mine's getting there.
chocolatey. Okay, so I'm gonna put the sugar in.
I think I'll do that tonight too.
Okay.
Okay. Now add the sugar.
I know that there are some people on here who are also my friends on Facebook, and I've been making challah every week. And so now I'm used to like putting in ingredients and then stirring and putting in other ingredients and doing things. So this is all very nice for me.
Yay! We're going to add the vanilla extract. Okay, and the eggs.
Okay, I'm whisking in the eggs.
Okay, now stir well.
Here. Whisk in the eggs and vanilla. Yes, indeed. Okay. Every time
To be honest with you, I didn't cook a whole lot before the pandemic because I was either eating out or going to friends' houses or whatever. And the pandemic has kind of forced me to cook and learn how to do it at home.
yeah.
So it's kind of actually really relaxing because when I'm cooking, I don't think about all the other things that are going on in the world.
Yes.
I just think about chocolate melting in a pan, you know?
Yeah. I was just gonna say that every time I crack an egg, I always think of the chef in Sabrina. You know, the chef in Sabrina was like, crack, do it, crack.
Okay, so all right, add flour, salt, and walnuts. Okay, we're gonna add flour, salt, and cranberries. Okay,
Oh, my
flour.
oven is done preheating. Okay, whisking in the second egg. Okay, and then the vanilla. Now, I didn't measure out the vanilla because vanilla is strange. So 1 teaspoon, which is probably like a cap, which is usually how I measure vanilla.
All right, I'm gonna put cranberries in now.
I can't tell if people are talking to us.
Oh, well, once we get it in the oven, we can start chatting and then we'll look at the questions.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what mine looks like up close here. Chocolate cranberry goodness. Okay, now this is pretty darn simple. All we have to do at this point is stick it in a pan. You're gonna do right now.
Oh, you're ahead of me now. I'm not quite there yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you can go ahead and I'll just be a few seconds behind you.
Yeah, I think 1 cup of cranberries is a really good amount here.
Okay. Flour. Then salt. Oh, pinch of salt. Okay. Okay. Now.
Okay, one more close-up shot here before this goes into the oven.
Right here. And we'll have a pinch. Pinch of salt. And walnuts / cranberries. Okay. This looks delicious.
Yes, it smells so good too.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm pouring it. Here's my well buttered pan, which I promise you is well buttered. My oven is yelling at me. because it's ready for brownies. I think I may be a little, well, no, maybe not. I thought I might have been a little bit off on the recipe because it's not very high in the pan, but brownies are not supposed to be very high in the
Well,
pan.
plus the cranberries will pop when we put it in the oven too, and it'll kind of.
Yeah.
Ready to put in the oven?
I'm ready to put it in the oven.
Okay, we're gonna put it in the oven at 325 for 35 to 40 minutes.
For 40 minutes, right?
35 to 40.
Okay, let's do 35 first.
Yeah, I'm gonna set my, some people like their brownies a lot more crispy or thoroughly cooked. I tend to like mine a little gooey, personally.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna set my phone timer to 35 minutes here.
Guess I didn't need this bowl after all. But.
Okay, now it's time to talk in depth about Miss Hepburn.
Thanks. Okay. Yes, always in the mood to talk in depth about all things Hepburn.
This is why we're friends.
Yes.
Yes, so I just love her so much. And again, I think she's one of these people that's just endlessly fascinating for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I agree. And she lived her own life her way. She was never, she never took any guff from anybody. It was always her own person and her own boss, really. Yeah, she was quite an individual.
You know what's funny? I love to sometimes go on YouTube and look up old interviews because I think in like the 70s, 80s, there were a lot of these stars that were still around that sat down with like Barbara Walters or Phil Donahue at the time.
Mm-hmm. She sat down with both of those people.
And you know what always gets me? Two things. First off, the interviewers seem to be very judgmental of her. And also they seem very sexist. Like I love when Barbara Walters kept saying, "When are you going to wear a skirt?" And Katharine Hepburn said, "At your funeral."
Yeah. But I think my favorite interview with her is with Dick Cavett, because Dick Cavett really, really, I think, got her and respected her, and she felt comfortable. I don't think she very often lets her guard down, but she let her guard down more than I've ever seen her let her guard down when she was doing the interview with Dick Cavett.
I love watching those old interviews. They are really, really fun to watch, especially with years of hindsight.
Yeah. And of course, have you seen the not the outtakes, but the pre-interview like getting everything ready for the Dick Cavett interview, where
she's like telling people where to move stuff and how to do things.
Like, yeah, telling people that they need to take up the carpet, that and she starts moving tables around, and she said, "I've been in this business for so many years." Yeah.
That's why when I read about her correcting people on putting the flour in the brown, I'm like, this tells me it's got to be authentic.
Yeah. 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 Should we see if I am totally blind here. I don't see if anybody's asking.
Answer questions, and we can also just talk about her too. I mean, there's so much to unpack about Katharine. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. People are talking about challah making. I'm also asking February edition. What was that?
So we can talk about challah making too. I keep these pretty freewheeling, so wherever direction you want to go, I'm down.
Yeah. Krista says, "I love how upfront she was about her time with Spencer Tracy after his passing." Have you ever seen the clip where she reads a letter that she wrote him after he died?
I might have, but it was a while while ago. So refresh my memory about that one.
It breaks my heart. I mean, just the amount of emotion. And she wasn't a person who showed a lot of emotion a lot of the time. But let me see if I can find the link, and maybe I'll post it in the chat or something. Because it's just, yeah, it's amazing. Let me see here.
You know, it's funny. I was so obsessed with Katharine Hepburn in high school. I got this book in high school, and I carried it around with me a lot. And it cracks me up when I look at it because it's my neat handwriting from the like high school years. But I still have it after all this time.
Which book?
Me.
Oh yes. Okay, here it is. I found it. Katharine Hepburn reads a letter she wrote to Spencer Tracy. Now I'm gonna do it real quick so it doesn't start to have audio. Okay, I'm gonna send it to people. But yeah, it's their relationship was so so I don't know. I guess I think the only thing that I can think of about to describe the relationship it just was what it was. You know, it's very matter of fact. Yeah. Oh, now I can't see my.
It's complicated.
Easy. Yeah, of course, complicated by so many different things. Yeah.
I love them on screen together. I mean, as anybody who's ever seen them together on screen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating when you watch Woman of the Year. When you watch Woman of the Year, you can see them falling in love. I mean, yeah. It's, you know, and you could write it off. You can write it off as you know, two professionals just doing their job or whatever. But no, there's more to it than that. You can tell.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
In today's movies, I just don't think actors have that kind of chemistry that they had back in the day. I mean, I can think of so few modern examples of a screen pair that had that kind of radiant chemistry. You know?
Yeah. Oh, Danny has a question. I got to interview Scotty Bowers before he died, who claimed that relationship between Hepburn and Tracy was not real. I told him I thought that was poppycock before it was real. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that Scotty Bowers was wrong about that.
I agree.
And you know, there are people. I mean, I think that when Scotty Bowers said that their relationship was not real, it was because he was saying that they were both gay, right? But I think at least with Kate, you can't put Kate in a box. She was just Kate.
Yeah, you can't put a label on that.
Yeah, and you know, for visibility's sake, I mean, you might be able to say that she was queer in some way, but it's just she was just Kate, and you know, there's the relationship that she had that may have been a romantic relationship with a woman early on, and then she had Spencer. So I think she was just very fluid in everything that she did.
I think it's a lot more common than people know as well.
Yeah.
Know? But I mean, I don't believe Scotty Bowers at all for so many reasons. And given the climate back then, you wouldn't, if you were seeking someone, you wouldn't have gone to a gas station attendant. I mean, that is just, it's so outrageous. I don't even know where to start. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't pay attention to him.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
And there's so many different phases of her career that I love. And like, I fairly recently watched Morning Glory.
Oh.
And even in that early film, she is just so good. Like the party scene where she gets all drunk, it's just.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Pardon?
I said she was brilliant, and of course she won an Oscar for it. So.
Yeah, and I think she only attended the Academy Awards, one time ever to present?
Yeah, she presented once.
Yeah, awards were not her thing. Do we even know what she ever did with the Academy Awards? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like doorstops or toilet paper holders for her. I mean, in terms of.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, probably. Joan Fontaine's were in the laundry room. She kept hers in the laundry room. her single Oscar. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what Kate did with hers.
That would be interesting. It seems like there's some people that put them on the mantle and put them in a prominent place, and there's others who are like, it's over the toilet or it's like a doorstop. There seems to be kind of extreme ways to handle that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that for the people who get them, it's a nice award for your work, but what does it really mean, I guess?
Oh, definitely. Well, one thing that Katharine Hepburn achieved that I'm always so awed by too is the longevity, because as we know, for a lot of actresses, I mean, it was worse back then perhaps than it is now, but the ageism, I mean, there were so many that were done by the time they're 30 or 40. And Kate was able to keep going for such an incredibly long time. And that's really remarkable that she was churning out the work she was at the level of quality she was too,
Yeah, and I think that that's due to her versatility. I mean, we don't think of Katharine Hepburn as being a terribly versatile actress, to be honest. I mean, she was always kind of Kate, but I think her longevity sort of contradicts that. That she was able to play people. She was always able to play people her age.
And she never tried to be someone way younger than she was on screen. You see that a lot too, 40, 50-year-old actors trying to be 20. And Kate never did that either, really.
Yeah. Yeah, she was never stuck in an era. And of course she was always so forward thinking anyway. And pushing the boundaries and pushing the envelope and all kinds of different
It's well known, but one of my favorite Kate stories is how the studio hated her wearing pants, so they dispatched someone to the RKO dressing room to remove her pants from the dressing room, and so she stormed around the set in her underwear in protest.
That sounds about right.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall the day that went down. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even in her fashion, I love the fact that she would wear suits, she would wear slacks. I love the sort of gender bending fashion like that Marlene Dietrich, that Katharine Hepburn were wearing at that time. That was so, at the time, groundbreaking for women to walk around in suits like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she was breaking barriers left and right. Yeah. See, I haven't checked the thing in a while. Let me look here. Who's talking to us?
At the time, groundbreaking for women to walk around in suits like that.
Oh, that's you. Ruth. Oh, wait. Yeah, Ruth says her gateway was. Her gateway to Kate was in Bringing Up Baby. I always thought that maybe she and Cary Grant might be a couple. Yeah, they have such good chemistry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Benjamin says, I like how Jane Fonda remembered her in an interview reflecting on the shooting of On Golden Pond. I like it that when the part where she says that Kate was whispering to her through the bushes. Kate was hiding in the bushes and whispering, "You can do it. You can do it." I think that's hilarious.
She was friends with Lauren Bacall too, right?
What was that?
She was friends with Lauren Bacall too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the African Queen. I mean, there's the whole trip to Africa, for the African Queen. Yeah.
Yeah, I love one of the many things I love about her is she didn't feel threatened or seem at all threatened by other women. Like you see so many times where actresses would feel like they had this attitude of like, there's only one room for one star and that's going to be me. And it seems like Kate was generous about sharing the limelight, generous with her relationships and friendships with other people and women. And I love that because you see so much bitchiness and cattiness in a lot of old Hollywood, and Kate didn't seem to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's evident in what I was talking about earlier with Judy Holliday. You know, she knew that Judy Holliday had a lot of potential, and she needed a lot of, to make it in the film industry, she needed a lot of support, and she knew that she could lend that support. So she pushed her forward, both in the press and in their scenes together. And I know that Judy Holliday was really grateful to Katharine Hepburn for the rest of her career, for helping her to do that.
She worked with so many great directors. She definitely had a very long-standing collaboration with George Cukor, which created some of her best performances.
Yes, personally and professionally, they were great friends off screen, off set as well. Beth says Katharine Hepburn wearing pants always seemed to me to partially reflect her New England practicality, which. Yeah, and Betty Davis talked about that too, about this sort of discipline and practicality, I suppose, that came with being from New England. And this was on her interview with Dick Cavett. And Dick Cavett said, like Katharine Hepburn, and she said, yes, exactly the same background. So yeah, I think there really is something to that. Danny wants to know if I mentioned Alexandra Billings' Katharine Hepburn videos. Yes, you must watch Alexandra Billings' Katie's Corner, it's called. KATIE''S, Katie's Corner.
Is this the one she drives around on the golf cart?
What was that?
Is this the one where she drives around on the golf cart to the rap music?
No, not that one. That's from a documentary.
Oh,
yeah. Actually, the same documentary that the letter comes from, that the letter that she read about Spencer Tracy. Danny, here's a Marian question. Yay. Danny wants to know if Marian and Katharine Hepburn knew each other. They wrote to each other. Actually, Marian wrote to Kate saying how much she loved Morning Glory. And she wanted her to come up to visit San Simeon, and Kate didn't. She was too shy. She said that Kate said for the rest of her life she regretted not going.
I have a question about San Simeon. So when guests would have gone up there, because I've read a lot about Louise Brooks and Lulu in Hollywood and so forth, and it's kind of seemed like you had to almost be on the whole time. Is that really true? Like you kind of had to entertain them and really be very sprightly. You couldn't sort of chill when you were up there?
Well, I think around Marion you could. When you were away from WR, you could sort of let your guard down. Marion was welcoming to everybody, but with WR, if he could be really sensitive about stuff, and especially the alcohol and all of that. But Marion was always wanting to make everybody feel at home and welcomed and all of that. But yeah, WR scared some people. Let's put it that way.
Well, crossing him could have meant bad things for people.
Yes, and it could have meant being sent down the hill and never to be invited back again, for one thing. And it, I mean, he had the power certainly to ruin your career, but he, I think a lot of that has sort of been blown out of proportion.
I know Leonard Maltin said he wasn't that crazy about it, but I'm kind of interested to see the Mankiewicz film about David Fincher.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, we'll see what it's all about. I've heard that they treat Marion well. Some of the things I've heard make it seem a bit more like a cat's meow type of situation. than a true to life film, sort of like a fantasy, like a fantasy film. We'll see. We'll see what it actually does. I'm curious. My interest is piqued.
Me too. You know, these things are always kind of complicated. Like, I still haven't brought myself to see Judy, the Renee Zellweger version. I just,
Oh,
when you're as close to this stuff as we are, it's just almost impossible sometimes to separate and be able to watch these things.
yeah. I mean, I have opinions on Renee Zellweger's Judy, but I think that would take much longer than the brownies are going to be in the oven.
I didn't see it. I haven't even been able to go down that road yet. So
yeah. Oh, Benjamin says, this is true that she suffered a lifelong eye issue from falling into the fountain while filming Summertime. Yeah, she fell into the Riviera, into the water, right? The Venice water.
canals in Venice, right?
What was that?
Was it the canals in Venice?
Yeah, it was the canal. She was pushed into the canal, or fell into the canal, fell backwards.
Yeah, for Summertime.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Oh my gosh, I love that movie. It's so beautiful.
Summertime?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw it at the TCM Fest, a friend of mine and I were sitting next to each other. And when Kate said, "I'm from Ohio," we started laughing so hard because, like, no, Kate, you are not from Ohio. I'm sorry to tell you. Yeah.
The accent alone is a dead giveaway.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, we started laughing so hard and we thought we were going to get kicked out. Yeah.
That's one thing that's been really hard for me in the pandemic, and I'm sure you as well, is not getting to see movies on a big screen, because that's a giant part of our lives that we haven't gotten to have in a while. And
yeah,
it's been like a void for me not having that, you know, getting together with friends and sharing a movie, you know?
yeah. That's been one of the hardest things for me, is not being able to go to the movies, one, and then especially not being able to go to the TCM Fest.
I know. I when they said 2021 was going to be virtual, I went like downhill emotionally that day. I have to admit, I had a very bad day because I just got really sad and depressed, and
Yeah.
I just have to cling to hope that this is going to get better. We're going to get a vaccine. We're going to go back to normal. I'm trying so hard to, you know, think positively.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that the TCM Fest comes back.
I do too.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. This is kind of a Katharine Hepburn related thing. Years ago, around 2005 or so, I was having a really bad day, and then I called a friend. I was upset, and she goes, "Carrie, you've got to stop this. You've got to snap out of this." And I was like, "I know, but I'm upset." She goes, "What would Katharine Hepburn do?" And I was like, "My God, you're right."
Katharine Hepburn Katharine Hepburn would take you outside and take you, like, running or swimming or to play tennis. And
yeah, so every now and then when I get upset or I feel like I'm just going out of control, I'll stop myself and be like, what would she do? How would she handle this?
And you know what else I love is that she helped a lot of people who were having mental health issues. Like, she helped when Judy, went into one of her big, downward spirals. Kate came in and rescued her, and said, "You're coming with me. We're going to go play tennis. We're going to go swim." And she sort of took her under her wing and helped her get through this really hard time. And I know that she did a similar thing with Vivian Lee. To help these people overcome their mental health issues, or try the only way she knew how, obviously, to help them. That's the side of Kate that I think doesn't really get talked about very much. Yeah,
that's one thing I kind of like to do on these shows, is kind of not only make the food and talk about the star, but kind of look at them in a different light and in a different way, than is normally done. And I think there's so many layers to people, like an onion. There's just a zillion layers to who people were and what they did. And
yeah, everybody's so complex. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm I'm trying to get across in my writing on Marion, because it's so easy to write off anybody in the story as being 100% good or 100% bad, but nobody was 100% good or 100% bad. Everybody exists in this gray area that I think is really important to get across. You know, like Hearst's wife, like Millicent. You know, everybody I know who knew her says that she was a really wonderful woman, even though from my perspective, you know, as somebody who is focused on Marion, she was impeding their marriage and everything, but she was not a malicious figure necessarily. So I think that that's really important to say, and to get across about her and about all the other characters and about everybody, right? About everybody who we love, you know, and who we know through the movies and through the media and through everything. So.
Well, and plus two, I think I agree with you. People are very, very complicated and gray areas. And also, I think just people had different attitudes in different times in history too. So something that may seem to us today is, well, why didn't they just do this? You look at it in the context of, well, if it were the 1920s, it wouldn't have been, you know, there's different mindsets, I think, for different eras as well.
Yeah, definitely. Danny says he got to see Katharine Hepburn and West Side Waltz on Broadway.
Oh my gosh, I would have died.
Danny, when was that? I'll wait for him to respond. But I have the Broadway cast album of Kate doing Coco, and it's a trip. And then of course her singing "I Hate the Spring," which is one of my favorite things.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Paint Your Wagon?
Oh goodness, yes. Oh goodness. Hold on, I'm gonna paste this because it's just amazing. This thing. I think the early 80s, before you guys were born, he says. Okay, I'm pasting into the chat Katharine Hepburn singing "I Hate Spring." Yeah.
She did musicals, she did Shakespeare. I mean, Katharine really was diverse. I mean, she did so much theater too, you know.
She dove into stuff. You know, she wasn't a singer. You know, we know that. She wasn't a singer, but she wasn't afraid to try it and to do it.
That takes guts.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And again, I just admire again how she was able to transition from the 30s to the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. I mean, really just such incredible creative evolution.
To the 80s.
To the 80s. Wasn't it
the early 90s, I think. I think her last movie was in the early 90s.
Wasn't it Love Affair with Warren Beatty?
Yeah. 94, yeah.
That's like a 60-year career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was able to make it work for herself. So few people are able to do that. Were able to do that.
And also, it seemed like she kind of kept her personal life, for the most part, pretty private. Like she wasn't someone that was just constantly plastered all over the fan magazines for personal hijinks or
yeah, because she didn't really give interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, here's one thing that makes me love classic Hollywood a lot more than contemporary, is they understood the importance of having a sense of mystery. Like today, you can go on social media and just, there's so much out there about these stars' personal lives and what they eat, where they go, what they do, who they wear, all this stuff. And back then, you just didn't know that much. And that created, if you ask me, so much more curiosity about them and about their lives. And there was just so much more mystery back then. And I think that's intriguing, you know?
Yeah, that was those were the days when stars were kind of myths, like on par with sort of the legends of the past. There are no legends anymore, no myths. It's a different kind of stardom now.
And once you know so much about a person, it's kind of hard to believe them in certain roles. If they post pictures of themselves on a private jet and then they're playing like a poor person in a movie, you just sit there like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like completely takes out the mystery.
Yeah. Debbie says, didn't see her perform live, but she was in the audience in the row in front of me in the early 70s when I saw Applause with Lauren Bacall. She was dressed like she was dressed in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, hat and all. That is amazing. I think it was, Debbie says it may have been the late 60s. I think it was the 70s. I think that Applause was, I get the year. But yeah, that's a fun play. I mean, nothing like Lauren Bacall singing But Alive.
Kate really didn't have a Grand Guignol phase where she did a lot of the horror schlock stuff that a lot of them did. I don't know if that was, she just wasn't offered that, or if she just made a point to like avoid that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Debbie, it was 1970. The Broadway production was 1970. So.
And she primarily lived in Connecticut, right? Like she really didn't, or New York. I mean, she really didn't take up residence that much in Hollywood.
And she did. She had a Hollywood home, but it wasn't like it's interesting because we're talking a lot about Judy Holliday. I mean, she and Katharine Hepburn were, their careers were sort of in tandem, but Judy Holliday never did that. Her home base was always New York. But Katharine Hepburn, when she was doing the Hollywood movie, she had to.
Yeah.
Right? She had to live in Hollywood in order to work. But I think that she was never really that attached to it. I mean, maybe
that's what I meant. Yeah,
yeah. I think she was always a New England lady.
I think that's kind of how Betty Davis was too, in that she may have lived in Hollywood, but her home was like New England because that was kind of her, her roots. Like we talked about.
Ruth says, for them, it seemed as if they took it as a job and not seeking celebrity. Yeah. For some, I think. I don't think it was for everybody, but for Kate, I think that's probably true. And Greta Garbo, obviously we know that Garbo was definitely not seeking celebrity.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine if they had worked together?
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I play these little games with myself because, well, when times are normal in LA, you spend so much time in traffic. And I try to listen to podcasts or do things to keep my brain occupied, And sometimes I'll think like, what would this star do if they had Instagram or Twitter back in the 20s or 30s? Or I'll think, what would happen if this star worked with this star? Like, what kind of movie would they make? And sometimes I just play these little games in my head just to kind of, give myself something to be occupied with while I'm sitting in traffic.
Yeah. Benjamin says, talking of hats, she was also great in Suddenly Last Summer. I totally agree. I think that's a really different role for her in Suddenly Last Summer, and she nails it.
Katharine Hepburn too, she was so consistent. Like how, there's some that they were better in some things than others. And Kate was one of those that she was so consistently excellent. Like
yeah. Although, there were those few, those few like, oh boy, what were you thinking?
What would be the what were you thinking ones? Like I would think Mr. Coburn.
Hold on. Rooster Cogburn maybe. but like Spitfire, you know, uh, like I don't know what else. There are a few of them. There are a few of them that are kind of doozies. Uh,
This friend of mine actually has a 16 millimeter print of Beyond the Forest with Betty Davis.
ooh,
And for the pandemic, I got to see it, and it is like, it is a barn burner. It's basically Betty taking the biggest bomb and just throwing it into the middle of a place and exploding it on film. I mean, it's like she really went with it, and it's so jaw-droppingly horrible. And
yeah.
you have to see it. Like I really wish this was on DVD because the world needs to see the hot mess that film is.
Is it not on DVD?
I don't think it is actually. I don't think it is.
Weird.
There's even a scene, if I remember correctly, where there's dust all over a table, and she walks up to the table and writes the word "bitch" in the dust. Like there needs to be a midnight PCM Film Festival screening of Beyond the Forest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That surprises me that it's not on DVD.
I don't think it is. I mean, anyone out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually don't think it is.
I think brownies are ready.
Are we done? The brownies done?
My oven is yelling at me again.
Oh yeah,
my.
mine's saying 16 minutes.
Okay, I'm taking them out and I'm going to show them to you because they are really beautiful.
Actually, mine just went off too. All right, let me go grab mine as well.
Okay, I hear you. Let me see.
I wish you guys could smell how great these smell. Okay. And we have cranberry chocolate brownie perfection right here, guys.
Yes.
I'm telling you, these are a delicious holiday treat, easy to make, crowd pleasing, and I highly recommend them.
Yeah, you used more cranberries than I did. You used more cranberries than I did,
but it's up to you. I mean, you can kind of do as little or as many as you want, and
yeah.
But
you're right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they exploded, and I think that the flavor is going to be very cranberry-y.
You know, it's funny. I've done a couple other live Facebook lives of making the brownies, but I didn't save them or post them on YouTube or anything. But every time I've announced I was doing it, I've always had someone email me and ask if Kate would approve of them putting weed in the brownies. And I always say, you know what? I don't think she believed in censorship. So you do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, Kate didn't believe in any kind of, well, I remember she said the reason that she was a liberal was because she said, don't be a no person, always be a yes person.
Yeah, so I just think Kate would say, you do you, you know?
Yeah.
You
always yes. Always be a yes person. Danny says he saw Alice Adams at the Academy in 2018 at a George Stevens tribute and loved it. She's wonderful in the role, even though it's not as tailor-made for her as other roles. Yeah, Alice Adams is another one that comes up as like a not great Kate role, but I think it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's not super special, but I think she's fine. I think she's good.
She's one of those stars that I would watch in anything, because even if the movie's not as great, they're the great part about it, you know?
Yeah. Ruth wants to know, did you use dried cranberries or fresh? I used fresh. What did you use, Carrie?
Because see, Ruth, they pop when you put them in the oven, and so that kind of creates this gooey, nice texture.
Yeah.
So easy to make.
Yeah. Terrence says he always thought of Rooster Cogburn as the African queen in the Old West. That's funny. Fun in its own way, but it doesn't compare to the African queen or True Grit. Interesting. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
I really, really wish I could just start scooping this up right now and eating it, but I know it'll probably burn the daylights out of my mouth, so I have to.
Yeah, probably. I'm letting but mine look a little bit low in the pan. I think maybe next time I might want to use a little bit more of something that gives it substance. Maybe a
Okay.
little bit more flour or something.
Okay.
Um, but we'll see how it tastes.
I think so much of cooking I'm learning is like trial and error, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's totally trial and error. I mean, when I'm making challah, like I'm always trying like little things and they make such a big difference, uh, either for better or for worse.
You should do a
Um,
challah video.
what was that?
You should do a live challah video. Cook the bread live and
I should, although my kitchen is so difficult to film in.
yeah.
It's just not laid out well for cooking shows. But yeah, maybe if I can figure out a way to do it, yeah, sure. Although it would be difficult because challah, it takes hours, you know. Yeah.
So I always try to do a lot of the prep in advance so people aren't sitting here while I'm like scrambling to find stuff in the pantry, you know?
Yeah, Ruth says I should use a smaller pan. Yeah, I probably should use a smaller pan. But they said the recipe called for 8x8. I think this is 8x8.
So let's recommend some books and DVDs to people because again, LA is about to go on another big lockdown in all likelihood. So a lot of us are stuck at home. I love this book, Me.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, I love it too. This is a really fun one. Whoa, I just knocked something over. This one here that I have it's photos. It's really cool photos from her. Like I'll show you a few of them. Like here she is doing stuff. Yeah, and it's photos, but with sort of commentary. So this one I would recommend. I got it at the Alameda flea market.
I went with you to that last year at this time.
That was one of the last places that I went to before the lockdown.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And then I got sick after I went there with a really bad flu that may or may not have been COVID.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I didn't go anywhere for a while, and then lockdown happened. So Susan says she also used 8x8. Yeah. So Susan, did your brownies come out kind of low in the pan? I'm wondering if maybe I did something that I wasn't supposed to do.
Well, how about once they've cooled, we can post a follow-up of like, hey, here's how they turned out. And
yeah.
And so let me ask you this, Lara, most of Katharine's film career is on DVD, correct? Are there any gems out there that are not available you can think of? Or is
Morning Glory on DVD?
I would have to check. I know I always see it on TCM because every year when they do Oscar month, they usually show that, so that's usually when I see it.
What about Stage Door? Stage Door on DVD?
I don't know, but we should check. But I saw the most gorgeous nitrate of that at TCM a few years ago. Oh my God.
Oh, I love that movie. And if it's not on DVD, that's a huge oversight by somebody. Ruth wants to know what the name of the book is. It's called The Private World of Katharine Hepburn, photographed by John Bryson. I'll write it in the chat as well. Yeah, it's got private photos from her life as an older woman.
I'm gonna look right now and see if Stage Door is on DVD because I need to figure that out like now.
Yeah.
I love that film as well.
Susan says that the brownies were rejected by her son. That's too bad. He's missing out.
Yeah. Okay, it says Stage Door is on Prime Video.
Oh, it's on Prime Video. Okay, well that's something at least.
Too.
Yeah.
DVD and Prime.
Morning Glory's on DVD. Okay, somebody just posted Morning Glory on DVD, so that's good. Krista just posted Morning Glory on DVD. Glad to hear that.
Yes, me too.
And Beth says try the pinprick test, so I'm going to try the pinprick test.
Thank you for reminding me, Beth. Thank you. I'm gonna go get some toothpicks as well.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure if it'll be totally accurate, just because I know these cranberries are so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's done. Mine's done.
Yep. All right. So, any final thoughts or questions or anything you want to talk about Kate?
Somebody had asked. Loki says, "Did Katharine Hepburn have a film she really, really wanted to be in but didn't get the part?" I know that she did. I know she did that for a lot of other actresses. Can I think of anything off? I can't think of anything offhand. That she really, really wanted to be in but didn't get the part. I think she knew herself really well. Donna says Stage Doors on DVD. Okay, good. I have it on VHS and I have it on, I think I bought it on something, streaming. But I think that Kate knew herself really well and she didn't really go after parts that does that sound right to you, Carrie? That she kind of didn't go after parts that she knew that she couldn't play?
Yeah, she kind of knew what her parameters were.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything offhand. I'm gonna cut these because I think
Yeah, I should too. Let me shoot.
they're cool.
Wondering if even though they're pretty hot, if I tried it with a fork, I could get away with eating a little bit of it.
Yeah, Dana says there was always talk of her being a contender for Scarlett O'Hara, but I can't see it. Yeah, there was that, but I don't think that was ever particularly serious. Do you think?
It's like playing a Southerner.
Yeah, that was just not going to happen. Not with her Connecticut accent.
Yeah.
They're still a little hot, but these are Katharine Hepburn's brownies.
Oh my gosh, so good.
They're unmistakable.
Oh man. Mmm. Delicious.
Unmistakable.
Do you like the cranberries in them?
I do. Do you like them?
Yeah. Someone suggested maybe doing cranberries and nuts together, which I didn't do this time, but that's something to think about in the future.
I'm trying to think what else would work. Like that would give the same or a complementary flavor.
You could maybe put crushed peppermints in there for Christmas.
Whoa, that's a thought.
I'm always kind of trying to think of ways to like change up stuff a little bit, and add something. I don't know if you could take any pumpkin puree and swirl it into the chocolate. That's a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some other fruit like strawberries. Like strawberries would be really good.
A zillion ways to make Katharine Hepburn's.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop eating these.
Me too.
Thanksgiving is tomorrow. We can't eat too much.
So you got any special plans for the big day?
Just dinner with my mom.
Cool.
Ruth says cherries. Yeah, cherries. Cherries I think would give a similar flavor.
Oh yeah.
That I'm tasting with the cranberries, yeah.
Or raspberries even.
Or raspberries, yeah.
Cool. So now I've made 3 Thanksgiving themed foods for Hollywood Kitchen. We've made Marilyn Monroe stuffing with Benjamin, Janet Gaynor's pumpkin pie with Annette, and then Katharine Hepburn Brownies, the Thanksgiving version with you. So yay, I love it. This is so much fun.
This is really fun. Thanks for inviting me on, Carrie. This was lovely.
Yeah, and I've got a peach shortcake Tampa recipe and a cheese patty recipe for Marion. And those are just the 2 off the top of my head. There's probably a lot more I'm forgetting, but.
Yeah. And as we were talking about before, it's so funny because Marion didn't really cook. I mean, she was more of a, in the domestic realm, she was quite a good sewer and crocheter and knitter and that kind of thing, but she didn't often cook. So it's interesting that they came up with recipes for her, because
I honestly think, it's funny because there's a couple of recipes. I had a ton of these cookbooks from the teens up to like the 60s. And there's some of these recipes you see in multiple cookbooks, and they have, each time you see that recipe, there's a different star attached to it. So I kind of wonder if some of the editors maybe thought, okay, this particular thing is in fashion right now food-wise. Let's just put Norma Shearer on it this month. Okay, the next edition, Robert Montgomery gets that recipe. The next edition, Ginger Rogers gets it. You know what I mean? It's like they interchanged them around, really.
My favorite running fan magazine feature is like marriage advice from Betty Davis or marriage advice from Claudette Colbert. It's like, sure. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very entertaining. I love fan magazines. I think they're just so fun to read and such a reflection into the time.
Oh, Carrie, this is your parents?
Oh,
John and Jenna's Bible? Yeah, they made it. They said they loved it.
Oh, good. They've made them too?
That's great. Hi, Carrie's parents.
Hi, Mom and Dad. I wonder if my nephew's there with them still. He'd probably love these too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any final thoughts or questions on Katharine Hepburn?
I think we've covered a lot of ground. If anybody else wants to ask a question.
Kate, like a lot of these stars, I find Kate is just the gift that never, ever, ever stops giving.
Yeah. She's she really is. She has so many different movies to enjoy, to discover if you haven't seen them yet. And she has movies that appeal to all different kinds of tastes. Like if you like Westerns, if you like drama, if you like comedy, if you like, it's just she provides something for everybody.
Yes, and she's just complicated and fascinating, and there's so many books, so many movies. There's just a world of magic out there waiting for people.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and thanks everybody for chiming in and talking to us.
Yes, and we will reconvene in the future to do Marion episodes. That absolutely has to happen because I'm so excited about your book.
Thank you. Yes. It's getting there.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us at Hollywood Kitchen. I'm lining up a bunch of Christmas episodes too, so stay tuned to my Facebook page for details and updates.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.